2,000 years ago, in the dusty hills of Galilee, people were thirsty, just like you and me. And what they reached for to quench that thirst has been wildly misunderstood, debated by scholars, twisted by religion, and buried under centuries of assumptions. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on 7 of the biggest myths about what people drank in Jesus' time. And trust me, the truth is way more fascinating than anything you've been told. Let's start with the biggest one of all. Myth number 1, they never drank water. You've probably heard this one before. Someone at dinner confidently tells you that in ancient times, nobody drank water because it was too dangerous, so they drank wine instead all day long, every single day. It makes for a great story, but it's simply not accurate. Yes, waterborne pathogens like cholera, dysentery, and malaria caused epidemics and mass deaths throughout much of human history, and water sources could absolutely be contaminated. That part is real. But here's what people get wrong. The people of ancient Israel were not stumbling around drunk from sunrise to sunset just to stay alive. In Bible times, while they did not know about microorganisms, they certainly knew clean water from dirty water. They knew how to find it, and to some extent, locals could build a tolerance for certain impurities in their local water supply. Scripture itself is packed with references to people simply drinking water, at wells, at springs, from rivers. The woman at the well wasn't asking Jesus for wine, she was asking for water. Throughout the centuries, the town of Nazareth had but one main source of water supply, a well located at the northwest of the town. It is very likely that the boy Jesus himself came here to quench his thirst. Water was drunk, regularly. It just had to be sourced carefully. Myth number 2, wine in Jesus' time was exactly like the wine we drink today. Close your eyes and picture a glass of modern Cabernet Sauvignon. Rich, dark, around 13 or 14% alcohol, clean, aged in oak barrels. That is absolutely nothing like what people were drinking 2,000 years ago. Wine of that era came laced with additives like tree resins, peppers, and capers. The idea was not just to cover up the signs of a deteriorating wine, but to preserve it for longer and produce new, exciting tastes. Wine didn't always taste great on its own. If you could afford it, your wine could be sweetened with honey and flavored with herbs or spices like cinnamon, or mixed with seawater. Most people drank their wine watered down, with more water than wine. That's right, the standard drink was more water than wine, and the alcohol content of ancient alcoholic beverages was significantly lower than modern alcoholic beverages due to the limitations of fermentation and the non-existence of distillation methods in the ancient world. So next time someone romanticizes the wine of the Bible, remind them it probably tasted more like a spiced vinegar cocktail than a Napa Valley Reserve. Myth number 3, only adults drank wine. This one shocks people every single time. We live in an era where alcohol and children are firmly kept apart, and for good reason. But projecting our modern standards onto the ancient world leads to some serious misunderstandings. Men, women, and even children of all social classes drank wine in ancient Israel. Its consumption was encouraged, sanctioned, and intimately linked with their religion. According to Lamentations, even children drank wine as their everyday beverage. In the dire circumstances that followed the destruction of Jerusalem, they implored their mothers, asking, "Where is the grain and wine?" Now, before you gasp too loudly, remember, this was heavily diluted wine. The water-to-wine ratio meant that what children consumed was far closer to a flavored, lightly fermented drink than anything we would recognize as alcohol today. It was a dietary staple, not a party drink. Myth number 4, beer had no place in biblical culture. Ancient Israelites, with the possible exception of a few teetotaling Nazarites and their mothers, proudly drank beer, and lots of it. Its consumption was encouraged, sanctioned, and intimately linked with their religion. Even the divine, according to the Hebrew Bible, consumed approximately 2 liters of beer per day through the cultic ritual of libation, and even more on the Sabbath. The oldest evidence of beer in Israel goes back to the Neolithic era in Carmel. The Bible also speaks of strong drink throughout the Old and New Testaments. Beer was produced from barley, a staple of the Israelite diet. However, beer did not attain the prestige or popularity of wine because it required large amounts of water to produce. Beer existed. Beer was consumed. It just never quite made it to the top of the social ladder the way wine did. And by the way, if you're finding this as fascinating as I am, this is the perfect moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We dig into history like this all the time, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Myth number 5. The wine Jesus drank was red. Think about every painting of the Last Supper you've ever seen. Leonardo da Vinci, Tintoretto, Caravaggio. What color is the wine in the cup? Red. Always red. It has been burned into our collective imagination that the wine of Jesus was a deep, rich red, representing blood. But science has something very interesting to say about that. Israeli winemakers, using DNA technology similar to what scientists use to reconstruct ancient species, traced ancient grape varieties back to around the year 220, based on references in the Babylonian Talmud. The wine they recreated, called Marawi, turns out to be an easy-drinking white wine with gentle aromas of apple and peach, not the red table wine featured in Da Vinci's Last Supper and served at many Catholic communions today. One lead researcher speaking about the project said, "All our scriptures are full with wine and with grapes. Before the French were even thinking about making wine, we were exporting wine." The iconic red wine of Christian tradition may actually have been white. Let that sink in. Myth number 6. Goat and sheep milk was just for babies and the poor. In our modern world, milk is milk. You grab it from a carton at the grocery store and move on. But in first century Israel, milk from goats and sheep was a central part of the diet across all social classes, and it came in a form you probably wouldn't recognize today. Since water was scarce and not always palatable, a good deal of milk was drunk. It came from goats and sheep. Hebrew even has a specific word for fresh milk, but in the climate of Palestine, it could not have been used as much as another term meaning sour milk or curds. As soon as fresh milk was put into a goatskin bottle, it thickened slightly and went sour, and this was considered preferable, better for quenching thirst. So the milk of Jesus' time was closer to what we might call a thin yogurt or kefir drink, fermented, tangy, practical, and consumed by everyone, not just children or the destitute. It was essentially the probiotic drink of the ancient world, thousands of years before anyone put the word probiotic on a label. Myth number 7. There was basically nothing else to drink. The Hebrew word shakar, often paired with wine in scripture, may refer to beer or other intoxicating beverages such as wine made from dates, raisins, or pomegranates. In the ancient world, varieties of wine were made from prunes, raisins, cherries, dates, apples, and pomegranates. Fruit syrups were boiled down and mixed with water to create sweet beverages. There was also dibs, a thick syrup made by boiling wine down, used to spread on bread or mixed with water as a beverage. And then there's one drink that almost nobody talks about, but that shows up in one of the most powerful moments in the entire New Testament: Pascha. Pascha was an ancient Roman drink made by mixing water and wine vinegar. Bracing, but less palatable than wine, it was typically a drink for soldiers, the lower classes, and slaves. It is almost certainly what was offered to Jesus on the cross, a sponge soaked in this sour, acidic mixture. Not a mockery of a dying man, not cruelty, just the everyday drink of a Roman soldier, shared in what may have been a very human moment of compassion. That detail alone changes everything about how you read that scene. So here's what we're actually left with when we strip away 2,000 years of mythology, artistic tradition, religious interpretation, and modern assumptions. The people of Jesus' time were drinking a surprisingly wide range of beverages, some alcoholic, some fermented, some just plain water drawn carefully from trusted wells. They diluted their wine heavily. They drank soured goat milk. They brewed barley beer. They mixed vinegar with water. They made date wine and pomegranate wine and fig syrup drinks. According to the ancient Egyptian tale of Sinuhe, Israel had more wine than water, which tells you just how central viticulture was to that entire culture, but not that they were perpetually intoxicated. It tells you they were resourceful, practical, and deeply connected to the land they farmed. And that land with its climate, its geology, its olive groves and grape terraces, shaped everything about how those people lived, including what they put to their lips every single day. History is almost never what the paintings suggest, and the next time you hold a glass, any glass, you might just think about the dusty hills of Galilee, a man walking between villages, and the very human act of simply being thirsty. If this video made you see something familiar with completely new eyes, that is exactly what we're here for. Hit like, leave a comment telling us which myth surprised you the most, and subscribe so you never miss the next one. See you there.